some descriptive descriptions of ourselves for any viewers that need a little bit of extra just information for visually impaired people. So if you could do that as well, that would be amazing. So I'm Jennifer Smith. I was on the programming committee of imagineNATIVE this year. I'm coming to you from Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg. I'm really grateful to get to be here on my homelands while attending imagineNATIVE, even though it would be nice to be in person. It is nice to be here always. I have braided hair, glasses, and I'm wearing earrings and a black sweater, sitting in front of a shelf with books, art, and plants on it. And so, yeah, I'll hand it over to each of you to introduce yourselves. Zoe, would you like to start?
Sure. Sego, that's hello in Mohawk. I'm scrambled on how to do what you did so wonderfully. So I'm the writer and director of Run Woman Run. So happy to be here. I'm a brown-skinned lady with long dark hair, and I'm wearing a green shiny top and some silver earrings and silver necklace that my uncle gave to me. And I'm sitting in my home office in front of a blue wall and a movie poster for my last film. And so happy to be here.
And then Dakota, would you like to go next?
Sure. Aglanate, my name is Dakota Ray Hubert. I'm a Dene I'm based in Saskatoon here, Treaty 6 territory. I'm also panicking. Okay, I'm in my bedroom on my bed with big, messy pregnancy hair and in a blue shirt. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
And Asvak?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sivak Stachin. I'm Cree from Northern Ontario. I play Tom in Run Woman Run. I'm really happy to be here. It's good to see everybody. I am in Rio de Janeiro. Just kidding. That's my background video. Yeah, I have long hair. I'm wearing a hat, and got a big smile on my face. Thank you.
PJ, would you like to finish us up?
I sure will. Hi, my name is PJ Thornton. I'm one of the producers on the show. I'm a member of the BIPOC community. I have a dreadlock fro. I'm wearing a hat. I'm wearing a green sweater. And I'm away for this weekend. I'm at sort of a pseudo cottage, I think. So hopefully there's no one coming into the frame. But I'm outside on the porch with a bit of a brick and sort of stucco type background with a couple windows. And I'm happy to be here, and thanks for imagineNATIVE for honoring us in this way.
You all for being here. This is a real honor. So I just want to remind the audience that we're going to start with me asking some questions to everyone, but you're also welcome to ask some questions. Just put them in the chat and we'll get to them as we move through the questions. So the one thing that I really loved about this was I felt there was a real ease of watching Run Woman Run in that it felt familiar in so many ways. I can picture myself watching this with my friends and rooting for Beck and crying and laughing together as we do with so many other films with a strong female lead like Beck. But for me, the special part was the familiarity of the way the story was told, but that also crosses over with Indigenous stories, and that it was so exciting to be part of Beck's path in reclaiming language. I love the snippets of community. So specifically, I was thinking about the meat draw and just how familiar that is to so many of us. You talk a bit and I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about making this film that anyone can watch and love, but also that there's specifically those moments for Indigenous viewers in it. And this is sort of a question for all of you, because you've all played a role in creating that sense of community and care in this film. So if we want to go in the same order that we just did the introduction, so that would be great.
Well, I'm really fortunate to live in Six Nations where the film is shot, so there's, but I also didn't grow up here. So I've moved here maybe 11 or 12 years ago now. And so I've gotten a chance to sort of learn more about my community than I knew like growing up. So, and like being exposed to things that I wasn't, when we would just come in and visit for a weekend or a week here and there, you don't get immersed, in the same way that when you live here. So there were things that I had never experienced before, like the meat raffle, and the first time I went to one of those, I was like, what is this? This is so fun and like weird, and I just really want to put this in a movie one day. And so it ended up in this movie, and like little things like that, and these smoke shacks, or drive-through coffees where people can walk up to the window or, and get a donut and a pack of smokes and a coffee. Like I was like, this is like, this doesn't exist in other places. And the fact that we have this legendary sports hero that's like in the National Sports Hall of Fame, but he's also dear to our hearts as a nation of Indigenous people, but especially obviously to Six Nations because he's from here. So, there's an annual Tom Longboat Run, and, I've seen that happen, and just seeing his statue in front of a building that I frequent for lots of different reasons, and just knowing that he's still so well loved and like he has such an amazing story, and he appeared to me one day and I was just really happy that all of a sudden he was in my movie. And it just made so much sense that a movie about running in Six Nations has to have him in it, and that's just one of those things. And I got to be at an in-person screening the other day with some Six Nations local people in the audience, and they laughed at some inside jokes that you would only get if you were a person who is from here. When Tom Longboat runs around the corner where he grew up, that corner on a map and locally is called Tom Longboat Corners. But I didn't write that so people would know as viewers that that's what that place is. You would only know if you're from here. And people in the audience laughed, and so because he says, and as he's running by, hey, it's my corner, and so I could hear all the local people go, ha, because they were so delighted to see something that was like really belongs to only us, so that made me so happy. I was like, this was perfect. The codes.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just like, yeah, just to I don't know. I like the sense of community of it. I grew up in a small-ish town, 5,000 people, Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan. What up? And what I really appreciated with the movie too is just like how like universal it is in terms of small towns, like the gossiping and the fun and the drama and the family stuff. Like I felt like when we were shooting, I felt like I was at home. Like I'm not Mohawk, I'm not any of the Six Nations at all, but I was like, I feel comfortable and cozy and fun here. I just really, it felt so nice to be able to be a part of something that is so relatable to so many people. And that seems to be a lot of the feedback that we've been getting from people who viewed it, is like they recognize themselves in so many of the characters and really identify with Beck's journey. And yeah, it was just lots of fun to be a part of and really moving to be a part of. And it's really exciting to hear people when they share their stories or like how it relates to them, and just how inspiring Zoe's movie is to people and has been and continues to be. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question for me again? just so I answer.
Sorry, I was on mute. Just basically talking a little bit about how being part of this film, you know, there was those nuances of being a film that was easy to watch and take in, but also the importance of having those like Indigenous stories that are part of it. So it's relatable to anyone, but also there's these really special things for certain people in the film.
For sure. Yeah, community. All right. When I was 9 years old, my brother was 2 years younger. He's 7. He was 7 at the time, and we grew up in Toronto, but we were always going to Ottawa. We were always going to Ottawapiskat or Moosonee or Six Nations growing up. We're just always going places every weekend, different reservations, like Anawaga in near Montreal. When I was 9, we went to Six Nations, and my mom let me and my brother play while she was doing something. And me and my brother decided to build a raft with a bunch of scraps we found on the side of the road and went into a pond. And we made this raft, went into the pond and started, you know, kind of like going around with a little stick, exploring, trying to catch little birds or little fish. And then our raft started sinking very slowly as we were in the middle of it. And our pants were getting wet. It was going, we're panicking, you know, and we rowed to the shore as fast as we could, but we didn't make it in time. And then we submerged underwater, and then we swam to the shore completely soaked, and then went to our mom like, uh-oh, we're wet. And she freaked out. She got upset. And I remember having stories like that all the time growing up in different places, different communities. But because I was always going to different communities, you know, I had to learn how to feel at home really quick wherever I was. So when we shot this movie, it was the same thing. You know, I just felt at home right away and was able to be part of it and feel welcomed. And hopefully it showed in my character as Tom Longboat. So in terms of community, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that story speaks for itself.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. So I've had the pleasure and honor of working at Six Nations for many years and working with Zoe. And every time I work on a project there, I'm always learning something new about the community and about the people. It's really inspiring and really magical. And again, working with Zoe, she did that again in this film, like the meat raffle, you know, being on the same roads that Tom Longboat ran on, you know, and bringing those stories to life and people in the community seeing themselves reflected on the screen in that way is really beautiful, and also really inspiring for the non-Indigenous community who doesn't know much about Tom or Six Nations. Even to this day, you know, the whole aspect of honor running was very new to me. I've never heard of it before. It came to life when Zoe put a beautiful touch on it. And to this day, that's something that I do, that when I run, I try to give honor to things that are that mean to me, that mean a lot to me, and be grateful for the things in my life and give thanks to things in my life. So, you know, the sense of community, you know, is not only in the Indigenous community, but also the non-Indigenous community, and bringing these two worlds together, I think is really powerful about this film. And I think, like you said, it's for everybody. Everyone can take something from this film and be inspired by it. So for me, that was a great honor being a part of it. And I'm happy to say I was a part of it. So that's sort of my perspective.
Wonderful, thank you. So one of the things I also really loved about this film is that, you know, often you enter into watching a film in a theater and, you know, there's these characters you love, there's characters you love to hate, there's characters you just dislike. But I actually this film was like, I was so invested in every single character. Like I truly loved everyone in this film and wanted to know more about their stories. They were just such beautiful characters each individually. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the nuances of how you present these characters to all be so loved, even though, you know, you're showing their flaws, which is something all of us can love. We all have flaws and still love people with flaws and know that that's there, but also making them so people that you want to see thrive. So I wanted to talk a little bit, maybe Dakota, if you could talk a little bit about how you played that role to be such a lovable, wonderful character that you were rooting for, but also how you in general created this film to represent so many characters like that.
Yeah, well, it's always writing, but I also found that, yeah, like just so much about Beck was who I am too. I had like a health thing when I was 20 years old. I was just eating like Wendy's and Doritos every day, and for some reason was really sick and couldn't figure out why. And it turned out because my blood wasn't carrying oxygen around my body because I was so severely anemic. So I had to spend a year trying to taking all these pills and supplements and all that, and like I couldn't run while I was doing that though too. I was not able to work out much. And so I had like my health journey, health scare and whatnot too. So, and I didn't even think I realized that until like 2 weeks into shooting, and I was like, oh hey Zoe, yeah, something interesting. I get it. Yeah, it was really it was like kind of like a mirror too, I think, in certain ways. And I think another path, if I stayed on the path that I was on, I could have ended up being sick like Beck, or having to just have to work that much harder. But it was also really humbling to be on her journey too, and really motivational as well, to kind of look into my life and be like, how do I, like, what's like the similarities, the differences, and how to feel like I'm taking control over my own health and well-being as well, and what does that mean, and learning my own language and my own traditions, and getting back into my own community, and how that relates to when I procreate, and have children, and how am I going to do and teach them the same lessons as well. And so it was really nerve-wracking. This was my first ever movie, and so every morning I'd be looking at these lines like, okay, let's get this right. But then like also thinking like, how do I do this? And it was great. And Zoe was such a generous director, and was able to help me, like coach me through some stuff that if I didn't quite understand it or wasn't able to get there. And yeah, Sivek said, dreamed to run next to too. Gosh, we had so much fun. Like it's such a gem. And that's what I have to say about that.
And I guess Zoe, like, how did you create these characters that were so so complex, but not all of them we got to spend that much time with, but you really got to know some complexities about each character.
I don't know, sometimes I think maybe you shouldn't be allowed to write a movie until you've like been divorced and like had a kid and like lived a life, and had people close to you pass away and experience like the full breadth of human emotion. Like it's tough to have had those experiences as a really young person. And so I've been around the block, man. I think that it's and it's so delightful. The best part of writing for me is when I really am in the zone and I really just feel like the characters are speaking and I'm just transcribing what they're saying. I've had that happen, a number of times, and it's a kind of a rare moment, but those are the best moments, and that's the time when the ghost of Tom Longboat came into the story. And that's, when dialogue really makes me laugh, I know that it'll make other people laugh. And it's almost like I don't even try to think it up. It just happens. But I think that's when the story is just taking a life of its own. And some of it's just like people I've met, that I want to capture something that like really tickles me about them. And sometimes those are people's flaws. Like I just love people's flaws. And so many of Beck's flaws are certainly my own, the struggle's real with regards to just trying to look after yourself, and carry the weight of all the things that Beck is carrying. The one thing that really strikes me in when she's running her marathon is like the weight that some people carry emotionally and spiritually, and yet they're still able to achieve such great things, and that somebody will have just lost somebody so close to them, and then look at them just walking around being amazing. I'm just always so inspired by humans, because we can just, carry so much and yet just keep on keeping on. Whether you're running a marathon or you're trying to learn your language or you're busting your butt to be a good mom or a good daughter or a good sister or a good friend or a partner, like these are so many things, so many roles we have and that we're juggling under the weight of sometimes depression or diabetes or grief, and grief is such a such a yeah, such a thing we have to tangle with in life, and it really blankets this family. But I think that grief can sometimes, bring us down, but sometimes it can also really inspire us, to do something really great. And that's what Beck is doing in this film, is like really trying to get out from underneath that and like do something great with it. But yeah, there's so many little moments. Like I'd love to have a spin-off like TV series of those guys at the tire shop, with Lauren Cardinal and those guys at the tire shop. Like, oh, I'd love to see their whole little story. Like they're so great. And I'd love a sequel where Beck and her love interest, we get to see their actual relationship come into fruition. Like there's moments where I'm like, oh, this would be so great to know more about them, but they're just a little bit there.
Yeah, that's funny. That was one of my questions, is that I would really love to see a spin-off of many of these stories. I was imagining like, oh, the Beck's love story could be a whole TV series, and I want to read a story about Beck's dad, like, or like read a book of, and it's so like it's interesting that really like those individual stories or those smaller stories that make the whole film are really captivating, and they really make you want to know more. Yeah. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about Tom Longboat. So, it's just Tom Longboat plays this really like wonderful character in the film that really is present in many ways, like present for all of the characters, but then has this relationship with Beck. But just immediately like seeing the book at the beginning, knowing the presence of him on the land. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about specifically, Asivak, how you represent a historical figure like this and how you take on that role and understand it for yourself before presenting it on screen.
Sure. Well, of course, you got to do a lot of research, where is this person from? What have they done? What kind of articles have been written about them? So I did all of that. And it helped that I've been to Six Nations growing up a few times. But the thing that really impacted me the most, for me, was this picture. His forehead's cut off here, but so for me, I never portrayed a historical figure before, so I wanted to do my very best. So I did as much research as I could. But then I came across this picture, and it really moved me. This picture, like there was a connection that happened between, I guess, him and me, and it was a cheekiness. There's a cheekiness to this picture that really moved me, and I connected with him through that. He's gone through a lot in his life, and I know we all have in our own ways. And for me, how I've dealt with some of my things growing up was through cheekiness, humor, trying to get through that grief or struggle, whatever it may be. So I really connected with Tom through this picture and that cheekiness, which I portrayed in the movie. And that really grounded me and connected me. And I was able to feel like I honored him through that spirit, and let the writing and the movie, kind of guide me and just hold that spirit while we're filming. And it felt really, really good. I got to meet some of his relatives when I was there. That was really special. I went to a store, some sort of store, and there was a guy carving something. And I started talking to him, and apparently he was a relative of Tom Longboat. And I talked to him one-on-one for about half an hour, and that was really nice. So, yeah, I used to come to this store all the time when I was a kid and see him, and etc. So it was nice. And I went for runs and longboard rides on my own time throughout the res, just to get a feel what it was like. But yeah, it was special for sure. And if I were ever to do it again, I would try to connect in the same way with that another character, whomever it may be in the future. That an essence I can really carry. It's the spiritual side of things, you can say. Yeah, I want to thank this picture and Tom Longboat and him being cheeky in this picture. What is he thinking? Look at this guy.
Asavak, I love the fact that you just shared that, because I think when we first saw your audition, I don't think I was anticipating Tom Longboat in the way that you did play it, because obviously the written word, you can interpret it in many ways, and it's always very funny, but how do you interpret that funniness? And so seeing the root of what inspired you now, hearing it for the first time, I think is really amazing. So thank you for sharing that story. I didn't realize this photograph particularly inspired your character in the way that you played it. So that's great.
Yeah.
You
I
had
love it.
you had shared that story with me before, and I knew which photo you were talking about, but I didn't really take a moment to really look at it and appreciate the essence that you were trying to capture. And I, looking at it now beside you and thinking about the movie, I so see it. I so see what you captured. And I loved, I loved your audition. I loved your performance. I still love every moment of you on the screen. But connecting those little dots, and I see what you did. You're so gifted, and I'm so thankful that you were the one to portray him.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really touching. Look at this man, legend. All the hardships people go through, but you can the spirit is so strong. It just comes right through it all. That resilience, and it's incredible.
It is. It really
incredible.
I'm going to take one question from the audience before I move on, because I feel like it's always nice to be able to spread out the questions that aren't just coming from my own head. So we have a question of, can you tell us about any funny stories that happened on set?
I'm trying to think about, I don't know, when Asivik was talking, I remember being on the weekend, driving around to I don't know, we work, when you're directing or producing or writing or whatever, your day is a 7-day week, so we're driving around to get something or do whatever, in between our work days. But these cast members are there, they have days off on the weekend, and they're tooling around, and we were driving and we saw Sivak on his longboard, going along, and we were driving along. I was like, is that Sivak? And he was way the hell somewhere else, and we're like, oh, should we offer him a ride? And he was just no, I'm good, I'm just going around. And I was like, oh, look at, they're having
how many dogs would chase after me? It was scary.
It was interesting. I was like, wow, it's just seeing Tom Longboat running around in the community. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know, we laughed every day. Like it was a really fun experience. It was a really fun shoot. As you work really hard on these little independent short feature films, everybody gives their all. But that's kind of the beauty of an indie. You know, you get a crew and a cast of people who are in it for a reason other than a paycheck, you know, because they've responded to the material or they want to go to a place they've never been before and experience the kind of shoot that they don't normally get to do. So you kind of get, you know, a bunch of people with really pure hearts, you know, so we just laughed all the time. There was one scene in particular I remember. We had to film in Beck's room. Beck's room is in her house, is in the basement in the script, and it's actually in the basement in the movie. And we were filming sometimes daytime scenes down there, but it was night, you know, so we were having to create this light shining through her basement window. And one of our crew members had to crawl under the porch, you know, a great distance under this house to like set up a mirror board to like light bounce off of, you know, our big lights into the window. And like hearing about this, you know, I didn't get to see it, but I was imagining him, you know, crawling like a soldier, you know, underneath the porch. And it was just so amazing. All the dogs that visited us, and my family catered, and they worked so hard. Like, so it was a real family affair. So it was really nice. I can't think of anything specifically hilarious that happened, but we did laugh every day, mostly at PJ. PJ and I are most of our texts back and forth are purely to make the other one laugh. So mostly it's full of lies. Like, oh, I'd text him like, oh, PJ, the whole house burnt down. You know, we can't film today. And he'd just be like, oh, okay. You know, we'll just build a new one. You know, stuff like that. Just pure lies. Lies.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any specific funny moments. Like it was just like every day was just like moments of laugh, crying, and like I don't know, funniness. It was lots of fun. I think the first day one was when there was that dog on set, an emotional support dog. I didn't know. She was really friendly and really nice. And I was like, I love this dog. And the AD was like, she's an emotional support dog. And I was like, how could she tell that I'm panicking? So, whoops.
Oh, there was the time you had to eat cake in the scene, and it was like, you know, there's a lot of different angles and takes and whatnot. There's a lot of cake eating to get that one shot, and it was a cheesecake, and we found out after the fact that Dakota is lactose intolerant.
Yeah,
and she just like champ. She was just a champ, just kept on eating, never said a word, but then when it was over, went outside and puked.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt so bad because it was a really good cheesecake, but I just couldn't keep it down. Yeah, it was so much fun and so much laughs. Like I thought the meat raffle, watching that scene again with the meat raffle was lots of fun too, because there wasn't really any music, right? There was, when we were dancing at some points, there was silence. So it's Braden and I dancing with this meat, but like to no song. And so it's so funny when you watch movies and like there's dance sequences, you're like, right, of course, like I know that there's not actually music in the background because I need to hear them talk. So it just like makes you appreciate those, maybe like those dance scenes or those romance scenes there a little more, because they are just, I think, just a level of, I don't know, I want to say like awkward but fun but light and whatever, just because it's like, yeah, there's just the two of us dancing with some meat in front of a room of people. So that was lots of fun. Hilarity.
It was so hot the day we filmed the diabetes run, which is in like the middle of the movie. It's meant to be like a 10K. And so we had to have community members come out and be runners participating in this 10K. And it was like 35 degrees or something, and like the sun was beating down. It was so hot, and it takes so many hours to film a big scene like that. So I felt so bad, and I just was like, I was under so much stress to get this big scene done, and just so worried about people being hot and bothered or whatever. I just was like, I just don't want people to be mad. And but everyone was having a blast. And one of our producers, Laura, ordered an ice cream truck for us, and like everybody got to go through the truck and get scoops of ice cream with toppings on it and stuff, and like everybody was so happy. I was like, okay, note to self: get an ice cream truck whenever there's a big scene. Everyone will be happy with free ice cream. And I was like finding people, and I was like, are you okay? Are you having fun? They're like, yeah. And they had their little ice cream, and I was like, go again, go in the ice cream truck, get some more. They're like, okay. So yeah, we just had so much fun.
I remember a guy. It was the race day, and there's this guy that really wanted to race me. As Tom Longboat. I was totally dressed as Tom Longboat, and he was really serious at it. He was like, "Let's go! I need to race you. Let's do it." So we did a little race down the block or something. He smoked me. Holy smokes, he was fast. But it was really funny. He was so adamant. He's like, I need to beat Tom Longboat. Because I think there was feuds, right? Like, oh, I'm faster than Tom Longboat, and like, right? There was feuds back then or something. Like, he wasn't the fastest.
I bet you that was my cousin.
That was funny. Yeah.
And I guess I wanted to ask PG specifically, the ways that you support someone else's vision through making this film, and how that process works for you, and how you bring in your own vision to that. And tell us a little bit more about that role that you played on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy with Zoe because I've known Zoe for a long time. We've done a number of projects with Zoe. She's very collaborative to begin with. She always has good insight and good vision. So you really want to nurture that. You want to create a space that allows her to breathe and allows her to change things and try things. Because we're working so hard, and you don't want to rush through things. I know sometimes that can happen with film because everything's sort of limited in terms of financing, but you try to create an environment that allows her to breathe and to be creative. I don't know if it's being just a good listener or just being a team, and knowing that it's not about me, it's not my ego, it's not about you, it's about the story and bringing this thing to life and hopefully inspiring people. That's sort of what, that's really the mission, that's really the goal. And if I can, allow Zoe to do that by just listening to her, or she has ideas, or just bounce ideas off of me or Laura, Paula, then I want to do that. I want to create a space where it allows that opportunity to thrive. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a particular thing that I do. I just want to, I want to be, I'm a good person. I think I'm a good person. And so I just want to be the best that I can for Zoe and other people around the set, and create a safe and secure environment, and hopefully people thrive in it.
That's great.
I rambled there. I'm sorry.
Oh,
No, it's all true. It is really easy working with PJ. He is really out there to like, make it easy and fun for everybody and not come down. And he has a really great way of when I realized like, oh, there's going to have to be a sacrifice made, and I try really hard to not sacrifice anything, but there's only so much money, there's only so much time, and PJ has a really lovely way of saying, like, well, you can have this or you can have this, you can't have both, and that's really the sad truth sometimes. And having to face that and make a tough decision, I always feel supported, and like I really have to think about that, like which is it, A or B, that I want, and knowing full well that in order to have the best of everything, I can't have it all, but PJ always presents that in a really lovely way, so it's and he knows that it hurts, to sacrifice those things. So I feel like there's an empathy. It's not just like, well, you can't have this is how much this costs and it's too bad, it's like, oh, I know, Zoe, I know, and like we have been working together for so long, and that he does have a good heart.
So do you, Zoe.
Thanks, Pete.
And Zoe is someone who's also receptive to things too, right? She can be very strong-willed and she has strong ideas, which is amazing. But at the same time, though, she understands and can be receptive to change and to, this may not work out the way you want it to, but she can adapt, and that's also a great quality that Zoe has. But also, I mean, I think we just come at it from a position of respect. I completely respect what Zoe does, what Dakota does, what ASIVAC does, what our PA does, what craft services does. Everyone's there working so hard, and that you just have to respect and know that everyone has a role to play in this beautiful thing that we're creating, and just go about it in the most respectful way that you can.
Yeah, I should add, we've worked together so much, and so much of it has happened in Six Nations, and my family's always involved in some level. Mostly they're feeding us or finding us cars or whatever. My dad knows PJ quite well by this point, and he always asks me, "How's my boy?" And I'll think he's talking about my son, his grandson, but no, he means PJ.
And I think, and for anyone who wants to be a producer, I think, try not to say no. The first thing is not no. You just think about if there's a way of doing it and find a solution if you can do it. And maybe you can't, and then maybe it becomes a no, but never say no. Never be the first thing you say is no. Just try to think if there's other solutions before you say no.
But I always know when you say I'll think about it or I'll look into it that you mean no.
She knows me too well. Damn it.
Wonderful. Well, I guess I'm going to ask one last question of, it's a fairly generic one that's come up in almost every Q&A, but what do you each have planned next? If you could tell us a little bit about that. And if it's okay, we'll just go in the same order that we started. So Zoe, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited that Run Woman Run is on the festival circuit. It's bouncing around at various festivals, so watch for it wherever. And we're looking at a theatrical release in February, so we're really hoping people, even if you've seen it, go out and support it in the theater. And seeing it on the big screen is so different than seeing it on your computer. And I'm sort of moving into the TV space now. I'm writing and directing on a series called Little Bird, which will be on Crave. And I'm writing 3 episodes and directing 3 episodes. And it's their first 1-hour drama. And it's really exciting to be working on like a premium show. And it's a really important story about the 60s scoop. So there's that, and I have a development deal now also with Crave on my own series that I'm co-writing with a writing partner, and we just started our writers' room this week. So, and that one's another comedy. I'm super excited about it. So yeah, just moving to the small screen, but I never want to let the big screen go. So it'll be, I don't know, I hope this kind of career where I can bounce back and forth between making TV and film, and yeah.
Amazing, congrats.
Thanks.
Exciting. Yeah. And I'm back on Crazy Like a Lynx. That's on APTN, and I co-host that TV show with Don Kelly, fellow comedian. And so we're shooting season 2. That's been lots of fun. We just did 4 episodes, and now we're on hiatus for a bit because I'm working on my next project with my husband called A Baby. He joins the world. It's supposed to be November 30th, but it's seeming like he's gonna join us a lot earlier. So he's really squirmy in there. I've pitched a TV show as well. So I'm working on the pilot and Bible for that series, another comedy, and we'll be recording my first comedy album this spring as well. So Woo, doing it all before I can't anymore, or trying to, I guess. I don't know if that's what it feels like.
Yeah. So my mother just got approved for her first feature film,
Yeah.
and she's going to be shooting in November. So she has a character there that she wants me to play. My grandma's going to be cast in it. My mom's going to be cast in herself. So 3 generations are going to be cast in it, and that's in November. So that's really soon. So I'm very, very excited about that. I'm really proud of my mom too. Yeah, and then of course auditioning and trying to get roles here and there everywhere. But yeah, November, shooting a movie with my mom. It's gonna be great.
Your mom is lovely. Jules is
Yeah.
lovely. So you're lucky. Yeah. What am I doing? So I'm sort of in post on a couple of series, documentary series. One called Friday Night Thunder, that was co-created by Lauren Milliken and Derek Miller, and the documentary series called One Dish, One Spoon, which is also based in Six Nations. So in post for that, and then hopefully Friday Night Thunder might have a season 3 next summer, and then developing another feature called Sukiant, based on that Governor General's novel. So yeah, pretty busy for the next little while.
Oh, this is thrilling to just like hear about all these projects and babies, but all of it coming into the world and intergenerational making is so wonderful and exciting. These, seeing the ways that more Indigenous and BIPOC content is like ending up on these platforms and in the world is so inspiring and exciting. And I'm just thrilled to like know that all of you are involved in that, and that there's so much exciting to come. So I want to thank all of you. I feel so grateful for this film. Honestly, I felt so many emotions while I was watching it that I was really surprised to have come out of me during a film, which often happens. I don't know why I was surprised, but it was just such a moving, engaging, relatable story that I feel so grateful that you all brought this into the world. I think that's all I have to say, but is there any last things that any of you would like to say before we wrap up?
Just a big thanks to imagineNATIVE. I just feel like I've always been so well supported, from my very first short film, which was, gosh, almost like, I think it was like 17 years ago. And it just means a lot, to be able to show it's like home, imagineNATIVE, so if you're out there watching, thank you so much for watching and being part of that journey.
Wonderful. Well, I'm just going to remind the audience that we have, or all of you have 48 hours, I guess from 10 a.m. Central when the film was released this morning to watch the film. And we also want to remind you about the Audience Choice Award. So there's an Audience Choice Award for both feature and short film. So you can vote for that on the website. Also, if you need any assistance through the next 2 days of the festival as we're wrapping up, there is the help widget that you can use at any time. So please use it. It's been, I know, really helpful to others, but I've even used it a couple times. So I suggest if you're having problems navigating anything on the site to do that. And thank you so much for joining in. It was really wonderful to be here, but also knowing that there were those of you on the other side of the screen engaging with us today. So thank you.
Yeah. Jennifer, lovely meeting you. Thank you so much for this.
Nice meeting all of you.
Yeah. Dakota, Zoe, Asavac, keep shining. Love you guys.
Love you.
Love you. Love you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.